are not true gospels. These were written centuries later on, and the problem is that the Quran uses these forgeries as its basis documents for what is written in here.
If the Quran was copying from these texts, as you say, why are they only copying some aspects of it, which just so happen to not be found in the Bible?
So let me get this straight. Muslim Cowboy thinks the Quran wasn't copying from late, unreliable apocrypha just because it only copied in parts? That's just how oral transmission works. The Quran admits people mocked Muhammad as an ear, a guy who parroted whatever he heard. They called it out. These are just fables of the ancients. Even his own audience knew he was recycling legends. Muhammad wasn't reading scrolls either. He was a merchant, surrounded by heretical Christians who already believed these fake gospels. He just soaked up stories and assumed they were legit, and these stories made their way into the Quran.
Logically speaking, is it possible for two texts to have the same information about something and they both be right? Just because it matches with something in those books doesn't necessarily mean that the Quran is wrong or it copied from it.
So what's more likely here? A, Jesus really made clay birds come to life, yet none of the earliest Christian sources recorded it. Not Paul, not the Gospels, not the Church Fathers, but the infancy Gospel of Thomas, a 2nd century Gnostic fanfic, somehow got it right. Or B, Muhammad heard a legend and mistook it for a revelation. This isn't a one-off mistake. The Quran constantly recycles unreliable late sources. The 7 sleepers in the cave, a 6th century Christian folktale, not history. Cain's burial, where a raven teaches him to bury Abel, lifted from a Jewish midrash, not scripture. Abraham and the fire, not in the Bible, but taken from Genesis Rabbah, a 5th century Jewish commentary, not revelation. Or Jesus wasn't crucified, a Gnostic Docetus claim found in texts like the 2nd treatise of the Great Seth and Basilides' Gospel, contradicting every 1st century historical source. Muhammad wasn't confirming truth, he was recycling blatant forgeries and heretical myths that surfaced centuries too late, written by people with zero historical access. Why would anyone expect them to be reliable?
If God is all wise and he's telling us what happened, then it happened. So what we have to do is prove, is the Quran from God? And if it just so happens to say something, then it happens to be that those books got it right too.
Translation: the Quran says it's true, so those late, unreliable sources must have gotten it right after all. This is just blatant circular reasoning. If the Quran were truly from God, it wouldn't be cribbing from rejected fan fiction and heretical myths that magically got it right centuries way too late. Muhammad wasn't revealing divine truth. He was running a 7th century fake news aggregator. If he was alive today, he'd probably be reposting Babylon Bee articles thinking that they were real.